In the year 1273, deep within the quiet walls of a Dominican monastery in Naples, a monk named Thomas Aquinas was immersed in his work. One evening, after a profound spiritual experience during Mass, he laid down his pen and declared that all his writings felt like straw compared to what he had just experienced. This humble man, whose thoughts seemed so inconsequential to him, would come to revolutionize medieval philosophy and theology. What were the groundbreaking ideas that this modest monk brought into the world that made such an indelible mark on history? How did his synthesis of ancient wisdom and Christian theology ignite a revolution in medieval thought? Before we dive into the transformative ideas of Saint Thomas Aquinas, let's take a brief look at the intellectual landscape of the Middle Ages. This was a time when Europe was emerging from the shadows of the Dark Ages, and scholars were hungry for knowledge. Universities were springing up across the continent, and the works of ancient philosophers like Aristotle were being rediscovered and translated. However, there was a tension between the newfound emphasis on reason and the established doctrines of the Church. It was within this context that Aquinas' contributions would become so pivotal.
Why should we care about what some medieval monk thought centuries ago? Isn't this just irrelevant in today's world, where we have science and technology guiding our lives?
While it might seem that medieval ideas are outdated, the foundational questions Thomas Aquinas grappled with about the nature of existence, morality, and the relationship between faith and reason are still highly relevant today. For instance, the debates about how science and religion can coexist.
Saint Thomas Aquinas was born in 1225 into a noble family in the Kingdom of Sicily. From a young age, his intellect was evident, and he was sent to study at the University of Naples, a center of learning and culture. Despite his family's initial opposition and even an attempt to confine him to prevent his joining the Dominican order, Thomas's resolve never wavered. He joined the Dominicans, dedicating his life to the pursuit of knowledge and spiritual enlightenment. His remarkable ability to merge the philosophical traditions of Aristotle with Christian theology laid the foundation for what we now call Scholasticism. Aquinas' work was revolutionary because it sought to harmonize faith with reason. At a time when many saw these two domains as conflicting, Aquinas proposed that they were complementary. His efforts culminated in his magnum opus, the Summa Theologica, a comprehensive work that addressed questions of theology, philosophy, and ethics. This integration of faith and reason provided a framework that allowed for the coexistence of scientific inquiry and religious belief, paving the way for future intellectual advancements.
Isn't it a waste of time to study medieval philosophy when we're facing real-world problems like climate change, inequality, and technological disruption?
Far from being a waste of time, studying medieval philosophy helps us with the critical thinking skills needed to address today's challenges. By understanding how past thinkers confronted their own crises, we can draw lessons that help us craft more thoughtful solutions to the problems we face today.
The significance of Aquinas' work extended beyond the realm of theology. His ideas influenced the development of various fields, including ethics, politics, and education. By advocating for the use of reason in understanding the natural world and human society, Aquinas helped lay the groundwork for the Renaissance and the Enlightenment, periods characterized by a flourishing of scientific and philosophical inquiry. Moreover, Aquinas' contributions to ethical theory, particularly his concept of natural law, provided a moral framework that has endured through the centuries. His political theories on just governance and the common good offered a vision of society that emphasized the importance of justice and the well-being of all citizens. These ideas not only shaped medieval society, but also continue to resonate in contemporary discussions of ethics and politics. In this video, we will explore the 5 main ideas of Saint Thomas Aquinas that catalyzed a revolution in medieval thought. We'll delve into his integration of faith and reason, his arguments for the existence of God, his ethical theories, his views on the human soul and knowledge, and his contributions to political theory. Each of these ideas not only transformed the intellectual landscape of his time, but also left a lasting legacy that continues to influence modern philosophy and theology. Join us on this intellectual journey as we unravel the profound insights of Saint Thomas Aquinas and their impact on medieval Europe and beyond. Saint Thomas Aquinas is perhaps most famous for his bold and revolutionary idea that faith and reason are not in conflict, but rather work together in harmony. This was a groundbreaking notion in a time when many believed that religious faith and rational thought were inherently opposed. At the core of Aquinas' philosophy was the belief that truth is unified. For Aquinas, both faith and reason are paths to truth, each addressing different aspects of human experience. Faith, rooted in divine revelation, gives us knowledge about God and the mysteries of the divine. Reason, on the other hand, allows us to understand the natural world and our place within it. Aquinas asserted that because God is the source of all truth, there could be no contradiction between faith and reason. Instead, they complement each other, with reason enhancing and deepening our understanding of faith. This integration of faith and reason was not just an abstract idea, it was a revolutionary approach that had profound implications for medieval society. Before Aquinas, the intellectual landscape of the Middle Ages was marked by a sharp distinction between theology and philosophy. Theology, based on divine revelation, was seen as the ultimate authority, while philosophy, derived from human reason, was often regarded with suspicion, particularly when it appeared to challenge religious doctrine.
Isn't it naive to think that integrating faith and reason was a big deal? Aren't faith and reason just two different ways of understanding the world that never really mix well?
Actually, Aquinas' integration of faith and reason was groundbreaking because it reconciled two seemingly opposing views. In his time, the idea that faith and reason could complement each other rather than conflict was revolutionary.
However, Aquinas believed that philosophy could be a valuable tool in understanding and explaining theological concepts. He was deeply influenced by the works of Aristotle, whose ideas had been reintroduced to Europe through translations from the Islamic world. Aquinas saw in Aristotle's emphasis on empirical observation and logical reasoning a powerful method for exploring and articulating the truths of the Christian faith. Aquinas' most significant contribution to this integration is found in his magnum opus, the Summa Theologica. In this monumental work, Aquinas systematically addressed a wide range of theological and philosophical questions. He used the tools of logic and reason to explore and explain the mysteries of faith. For example, in his famous 5 Ways, Aquinas presents 5 logical arguments for the existence of God, each rooted in observable phenomena and rational deduction. These arguments, while based on reason, were designed to support and enrich the understanding of divine truths revealed through faith. One of the key elements of Aquinas' synthesis was his concept of natural law. Natural law, according to Aquinas, is the participation of human beings in the eternal law of God. It is the moral law that is inscribed in the nature of every person and is accessible through reason. This idea that moral principles could be discerned through human reason rather than solely through divine revelation was revolutionary. It provided a rational basis for ethical behavior that could be understood and accepted by people of all faiths or even those without religious beliefs. This universality of natural law would later become a foundational concept in the development of modern human rights and international law.
Doesn't Aquinas' idea that faith and reason can work together just create confusion? Isn't it simpler to pick one and stick with it rather than trying to mix them? Aquinas' approach might seem complex, but it actually provides a more nuanced understanding of reality. This integration allows for a richer exploration of truth, where reason helps to clarify and deepen our understanding of faith, and faith provides a moral and existential context for reason.
Aquinas' integration of faith and reason also extended to his views on science and education. He argued that studying the natural world was a way of honoring God, as all creation reflects the divine order. This perspective laid the groundwork for the development of universities in medieval Europe, where theology and philosophy were studied alongside the natural sciences. Aquinas' belief that reason could lead to a deeper understanding of faith encouraged the pursuit of knowledge in all areas of human inquiry. One of the most profound impacts of Aquinas' work was the way it changed the intellectual climate of the Middle Ages. By showing that faith and reason were not only compatible but mutually reinforcing, Aquinas opened the door for a more integrated approach to learning. His ideas helped to break down the barriers between religious and secular thought, allowing for a more comprehensive exploration of both the natural and the divine. This integration of faith and reason was not without its challenges. Aquinas' ideas were met with resistance from some quarters, particularly from those who feared that too much reliance on reason could lead to heresy or diminish the authority of the Church. However, over time, his approach gained acceptance and became a cornerstone of Scholasticism, the dominant intellectual tradition of the Middle Ages. Aquinas' legacy is seen in the way his ideas laid the foundation for the Renaissance and the Enlightenment. His belief in the harmony of faith and reason inspired later thinkers to explore the natural world with the confidence that their discoveries would not undermine their faith, but rather enhance it. This spirit of inquiry and the belief in the compatibility of science and religion continue to influence the way we approach knowledge and understanding today. In conclusion, Saint Thomas Aquinas' integration of faith and reason was a revolutionary idea that transformed medieval thought. By demonstrating that these two paths to truth could coexist and enrich each other, Aquinas bridged the gap between theology and philosophy, paving the way for centuries of intellectual progress. His work remains a testament to the power of reason in the service of faith, and his influence can still be felt in the way we think about the relationship between religion and science today. One of the most significant contributions of Saint Thomas Aquinas to theology and philosophy is his exploration of the nature of God. Aquinas was deeply committed to understanding and explaining the divine, and he believed that human reason, guided by faith, could provide profound insights into the existence and attributes of God. His approach to this subject is perhaps best exemplified by his famous 5 Ways, a series of arguments that seek to demonstrate the existence of God. Aquinas' 5 Ways are rooted in everyday experience and observation of the world around us. Each argument begins with a premise based on observable phenomena and proceeds to a conclusion that points to the existence of a necessary being, which Aquinas identifies as God. These arguments reflect Aquinas' belief that reason and empirical evidence can lead us to a deeper understanding of the divine. The first of Aquinas' 5 Ways is the argument from motion. Aquinas observed that everything in the universe is in motion, and that this motion must have been set in motion by something else. However, this chain of movers cannot go back infinitely. There must be a first mover, which itself is unmoved. Aquinas identifies this unmoved mover as God. This argument is grounded in the observation of change and motion in the natural world, and the philosophical principle that nothing can move itself from potentiality to actuality without something else acting upon it. The second argument is the argument from causation. Aquinas noted that in the world, we observe a series of causes and effects. However, just as with motion, this chain of causes cannot regress infinitely. There must be a first cause that is not itself caused by anything else. This first cause, Aquinas argues, is God. This argument emphasizes that everything that exists has a cause, and there must be a first cause that brought everything into being. The third argument is the argument from contingency. Aquinas observed that in the world, things come into existence and pass away. They are contingent. If everything were contingent, there would have been a time when nothing existed. But if there were nothing, nothing could come into existence. Therefore, there must be something that exists necessarily, something that has always existed and will always exist. This necessary being, Aquinas argues, is God. The fourth argument is the argument from degree. Aquinas noted that we observe varying degrees of qualities such as goodness, truth, and nobility in the world. However, these degrees are only possible in relation to a maximum, something that is the fullest expression of these qualities. Aquinas argues that this maximum, this source of all goodness and truth, is God. The fifth and final argument is the argument from teleology, or the argument from design. Aquinas observed that natural objects, which lack intelligence, act in a purposeful way to achieve certain ends. This regularity and order in nature cannot be due to chance, but must be directed by some intelligent being. Aquinas concludes that this intelligent being, which directs all natural things to their ends, is God. These 5 ways have had a profound impact on both medieval and modern theology. During Aquinas' time, these arguments provided a robust intellectual foundation for the Christian faith, offering rational support for the existence of God that could engage with the philosophical traditions of the time. Aquinas' synthesis of faith and reason, as exemplified in these arguments, helped to elevate the status of theology within the medieval university system. The reception of Aquinas' arguments was not without controversy. Some of his contemporaries, as well as later philosophers and theologians, challenged the validity of the five ways. Critics argued that these arguments, while logically compelling, did not necessarily prove the existence of the Christian God, or that they relied too heavily on assumptions that could be questioned. Despite these critiques, Aquinas' arguments have endured as central components of Christian apologetics and have influenced both Catholic and Protestant theology. The impact of Aquinas' exploration of the nature of God extends beyond the boundaries of medieval theology. His arguments have continued to be studied, debated, and developed by theologians, philosophers, and scholars throughout history. Even today, Aquinas' arguments continue to be a reference point in debates about the existence of God, the relationship between faith and reason, and the nature of divine attributes. In addition to the five ways, Aquinas made significant contributions to understanding the attributes of God. He argued that God is simple, meaning that God's essence is identical to God's existence. There is no distinction between what God is and that God is. Aquinas also asserted that God is immutable, eternal, and omnipotent. These attributes, derived from philosophical reasoning, have become foundational concepts in Christian theology. In conclusion, Saint Thomas Aquinas' exploration of the nature of God, particularly through his five ways, has had a lasting impact on both medieval and modern theology. His arguments provide a rational basis for belief in God that has stood the test of time, influencing generations of thinkers and continuing to shape the way we approach questions of faith, reason, and the divine. Aquinas' work remains a cornerstone of Christian theology, and his insights into the nature of God continue to inspire and challenge those who seek to understand the mysteries of the divine. Saint Thomas Aquinas' contributions to ethics, particularly his development of the concept of natural law, have had a profound and lasting impact on moral philosophy and theology. Aquinas' ethical framework is deeply rooted in the idea that morality is not arbitrary, but is instead grounded in the very nature of human beings and the world they inhabit. His theory of natural law provides a rational foundation for ethical behavior, one that has influenced both medieval society and contemporary thought. At the heart of Aquinas' ethical philosophy is the belief that human beings are naturally inclined towards certain goods. These goods, which include the preservation of life, the propagation of species, the pursuit of truth, and the maintenance of social order, are rooted in our nature. According to Aquinas, these natural inclinations are expressions of the divine law, the eternal law of God that governs the universe. Natural law, therefore, is the participation of human beings in this divine law, as it is inscribed in the very fabric of our nature. Aquinas argued that because natural law is based on reason and the nature of human beings, it is universal and unchanging. It applies to all people, at all times, and in all places. This universality of natural law was a revolutionary idea in the medieval context, where moral and legal codes were often seen as specific to particular cultures or communities. Aquinas' concept of natural law provided a basis for thinking about ethics that transcended cultural and religious boundaries, offering a common ground for moral discourse. In practical terms, Aquinas' natural law theory had significant implications for medieval society. It provided a moral framework that could be used to evaluate laws and social practices. According to Aquinas, human laws are just and valid only insofar as they are in accordance with natural law. Laws that violate natural law, on the other hand, are unjust and lack true authority. This idea laid the groundwork for the development of the concept of human rights and the notion that there are moral limits to the power of rulers and governments. One of the key applications of Aquinas' natural law theory in medieval society was in the realm of justice. Aquinas believed that justice is the habit of giving each person their due, and this principle was central to his ethical thought. Natural law provided a standard by which the justice of laws and social institutions could be measured. For example, Aquinas argued that slavery, while sometimes tolerated in human law, is contrary to natural law because it violates the fundamental dignity of the human person. Aquinas' natural law theory also influenced the development of moral theology, particularly in the area of conscience. Aquinas believed that the natural law is known to us through our conscience, which he described as the application of natural law to particular cases. This idea has had a lasting impact on the Christian understanding of moral decision-making, emphasizing the role of reason and conscience in discerning right from wrong. The influence of Aquinas' ethical thought extends far beyond the medieval period. His natural law theory became a cornerstone of Catholic moral theology and has been developed and expanded by later thinkers. The idea that there are universal moral principles that can be discerned through reason has also influenced secular ethics, providing a foundation for discussions of justice, human rights, and the common good. In contemporary thought, Aquinas' natural law theory continues to be a significant reference point in debates about ethics and morality. It offers a framework for understanding moral obligations that is based on human nature and reason rather than on religious or cultural authority. This has made it a valuable resource for dialogue between different ethical traditions and for addressing moral questions in a pluralistic world. In conclusion, Saint Thomas Aquinas' views on ethics and natural law have had a profound and enduring impact on both medieval society and contemporary thought. His belief that morality is grounded in the nature of human beings and the world they inhabit has provided a rational foundation for ethical behavior that transcends cultural and religious boundaries. Aquinas' natural law theory remains a cornerstone of moral philosophy, offering insights into the nature of justice, human rights, and the common good that continue to resonate in the modern world. Saint Thomas Aquinas' exploration of the human soul and knowledge is one of the most intricate and influential aspects of his philosophy. Aquinas sought to understand the nature of the soul, its relationship to the body, and how human beings acquire knowledge. His insights into these topics not only shaped medieval thought, but continue to influence philosophical and theological discussions today. At the heart of Aquinas' anthropology is his belief in the unity of the human being. Unlike some of his predecessors who viewed the soul and body as distinct and separate entities, Aquinas argued for their profound unity. According to Aquinas, the soul is the form of the body. It gives life to the body and makes it a living, rational being. This concept, rooted in Aristotelian philosophy, was adapted and integrated into his Christian worldview. Aquinas identified the human soul as possessing three main faculties: the vegetative, the sensitive, and the rational. The vegetative soul is responsible for basic life functions, the sensitive soul for perception and movement, and the rational soul, unique to humans, for intellect and will. It is through the rational soul that humans engage in abstract thought, make moral decisions, and seek knowledge. For Aquinas, knowledge begins with the senses. He argued that all human knowledge starts with sensory experience. When we perceive an object, our senses provide the raw data, which our intellect then processes and abstracts into universal concepts. This process of abstraction allows us to move from particular, concrete experiences to general, universal truths. Aquinas also distinguished between two types of intellect: the active intellect and the passive intellect. The active intellect abstracts the universal form from sensory data, while the passive intellect receives and stores these universal concepts. This distinction helped Aquinas explain how humans can know universal truths, such as the nature of justice or the concept of beauty, based on their experiences. Aquinas' views on the human soul and knowledge had a significant impact on medieval education and philosophy. His emphasis on the importance of sensory experience in acquiring knowledge contributed to the development of empirical methods in science and learning. Medieval universities, often structured around Aquinas' works, adopted his approach to the relationship between faith and reason, emphasizing their compatibility. In education, Aquinas' philosophy underscored the importance of intellectual formation. He believed education should cultivate the rational soul, helping individuals grow in wisdom and virtue. This belief was reflected in medieval university curricula, where theology and philosophy were taught alongside the liberal arts and sciences. Aquinas' influence helped establish a tradition of education that aimed to develop both intellect and moral character. Aquinas' understanding of the soul also had profound theological implications. He argued that the soul is immortal and its ultimate purpose is union with God. This belief in the soul's immortality provided a foundation for his teachings on the afterlife, the resurrection of the body, and the beatific vision, the ultimate fulfillment of the human soul in the direct experience of God. In contemporary discussions, Aquinas' insights into the human soul and knowledge remain relevant. His emphasis on the unity of the human person challenges dualistic views that separate the mind from the body. His theory of knowledge, rooted in sensory experience and abstraction, offers a framework that bridges empirical science and philosophical inquiry. Moreover, his understanding of the rational soul as the source of moral and intellectual life continues to provide a basis for discussions on ethics, education, and human dignity. In conclusion, Saint Thomas Aquinas' views on the human soul and knowledge have had a lasting impact on both medieval and modern thought. His belief in the unity of the human person, the process of knowledge acquisition, and the ultimate purpose of the soul continues to influence philosophy, theology, and education. Aquinas' insights into the nature of the human soul remain a cornerstone of Christian anthropology, offering a rich understanding of what it means to be human. Saint Thomas Aquinas' contributions to political theory are among his most influential, yet sometimes overlooked aspects of his philosophy. His ideas on governance, law, and the role of the state have shaped not only medieval political thought, but also the foundations of modern political philosophy. Aquinas' political theory is deeply intertwined with his broader philosophical and theological beliefs, particularly his understanding of natural law and the common good. Aquinas viewed political authority as necessary for the organization of society and the promotion of the common good. He believed that human beings are naturally social creatures who require governance to achieve their full potential. However, unlike some earlier thinkers who viewed political power as merely a necessary evil, Aquinas saw it as a positive force that, when properly aligned with moral principles, could lead to the flourishing of both individuals and the community. Central to Aquinas' political theory is the concept of the common good. For Aquinas, the common good is the ultimate purpose of political authority and the measure of just governance. The common good encompasses the well-being of all members of society and includes not only material goods like peace and security, but also moral and spiritual goods such as justice and virtue. Aquinas argued that rulers must govern with the common good in mind, ensuring that their laws and policies promote the welfare of all citizens. Aquinas' understanding of law is another key aspect of his political theory. He identified 4 types of law: eternal law, natural law, human law, and divine law. Eternal law is the unchanging order established by God that governs the universe. Natural law is the participation of human beings in this eternal law through reason. Human law refers to the specific laws enacted by political authorities to govern society, while divine law pertains to the laws revealed by God. For Aquinas, human law must be based on natural law to be just. This means that laws should reflect the moral order inherent in human nature and aim to promote the common good. Unjust laws, which violate natural law, are not true laws and do not bind the conscience of individuals. This principle laid the groundwork for later theories of civil disobedience and the idea that citizens have a moral obligation to resist unjust authority. Aquinas also addressed the relationship between the church and the state, a crucial issue in medieval political thought. He maintained that while the church and state have distinct roles, they should work together harmoniously to promote the common good. The church's role is primarily spiritual, guiding souls towards salvation, while the state's role is temporal, ensuring justice and order in society. However, Aquinas argued that the state should support the church in its spiritual mission, and rulers should govern in accordance with Christian principles. Aquinas' political theory has had a lasting impact on the development of Western political thought. His ideas influenced the medieval concept of kingship, which emphasized the ruler's responsibility to govern justly and for the benefit of all. During the Renaissance, Aquinas' emphasis on natural law and the common good helped shape the emerging theories of natural rights and social contract, which would later be developed by thinkers like John Locke and Thomas Hobbes. In modern times, Aquinas' political thought continues to be relevant in discussions about the role of the state, the nature of law, and the relationship between religion and politics. His concept of the common good remains a foundational principle in Catholic social teaching, influencing contemporary debates on issues such as economic justice, human rights, and the environment. In conclusion, Saint Thomas Aquinas' contributions to political theory are an essential part of his broader philosophical legacy. His ideas on just governance, the common good, and the relationship between law and morality have influenced both medieval and modern political thought. Aquinas' vision of politics as a moral enterprise aimed at the flourishing of individuals and communities continues to offer valuable insights into the nature of political authority and the ethical responsibilities of those who wield power. As we conclude our exploration of Saint Thomas Aquinas and his revolutionary contributions to medieval thought, let's recap the 5 key ideas that defined his intellectual legacy. First, we discussed Aquinas' groundbreaking integration of faith and reason. He argued that these two realms of knowledge are not in conflict but complement each other, providing a unified path to truth. This idea laid the foundation for a new way of thinking in both theology and philosophy, bridging the gap between religious belief and rational inquiry. Second, we explored Aquinas' 5 proofs for the existence of God, known as the 5 ways. These arguments, rooted in observation and logical reasoning, provided a rational basis for belief in God, influencing both medieval and modern theology. Third, we examined Aquinas' contributions to ethics, particularly his development of natural law theory. He proposed that moral principles are grounded in human nature and accessible through reason, providing a universal framework for ethical behavior that transcends cultural and religious differences. Fourth, we delved into Aquinas' views on the human soul and knowledge. His belief in the unity of body and soul, coupled with his emphasis on the role of sensory experience in acquiring knowledge, significantly shaped medieval education and continues to influence philosophical and theological discussions today. Finally, we considered Aquinas' political theory, where he argued for just governance aimed at the common good. His ideas on law, authority, and the relationship between the church and state have had a lasting impact on Western political thought, from the medieval concept of kingship to modern debates on human rights and social justice. Saint Thomas Aquinas' impact on medieval thought was nothing short of revolutionary. By harmonizing faith with reason, ethics with nature, and governance with the common good, he provided a comprehensive framework that has stood the test of time. His ideas continue to resonate in modern philosophy, theology, education, and political theory, proving that the insights of a 13th century scholar still have profound relevance today. If you found this deep dive into Aquinas' thought insightful, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more explorations into the lives and ideas of history's greatest thinkers. And if you enjoyed this video, give it a like to help others discover the impact of Saint Thomas Aquinas. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.